Hello, my name's Oliver and welcome to my workshop. In last week's video, we took the boot floor out of the Dyane, cut it all out and cleaned it all up and rust protected it. Since then, my dad has been in and he's painted all of the chassis grey. He's actually painted it twice. He painted it once and it was too dark and he didn't really like it. So then he sanded it all black and he's painted it again. And I've had a few days off because I've had flu and allergies at the same time. Hay fever and flu, that was a fun combination. But yeah, I got ahead on videos, took a few days off so that I could work on the house and stuff, and then got flu. So if I sound a bit wheezy, that's why. Also, come and have a look at this. Down here, we have a hole. Yeah, there was a small rusty hole, but I've cut it out so I can take a look inside. It's not actually that bad. But we are going to be replacing this piece here underneath. We're going to take that out and rust treat it and put new in. We're going to do the same on the other side. But the reason we haven't removed it yet, and we haven't removed this, is we're going to put the boot floor in first. That allows us to keep rigidity in the body without making everything too thin and twisty. Too often I see people take bodies of 2CVs off chassis and cut all of the floor out, replace all of the floor without welding stiffeners into the car to do it in the meantime. If you take too much of the structure out at once, it twists and then you have to realign all your doors and stuff like that because your body's not straight anymore, and we don't want any of that. So our mission now is to replace the boot floor, get that in, and then we can start tackling this stuff. And like I said, you'll see that my dad's painted all of this up beautifully in this light grey. It's tool paint, like for lathes and stuff like that. It's really beastly stuff. It can take a kick in. And in a previous video, I said I didn't know what this was. Now this line is Dyane fuel line, and there was a loose piece of Dyane fuel line in the rubber line as well. Now, 2CV6s and Dyanes apparently have a plastic fuel line. I didn't know this because I've never owned a 2CV6 or a Dyane. My car has copper fuel lines because it's a 60s car. The brake lines are run differently and everything. My brake lines have like beautiful banjo fittings on them, and all my fuel lines are all copper, and it's completely different. It even runs down a different side of the car. But we've got new fuel line, we've got new clips, we've got new everything. We've got a new fuel tank, and that's all to go in yet. But like I say, we're not going to do any of that until we've done all of this and finished all of the rust repair. And that all starts with getting the new boot floor in. So let's get cracking with that, shall we? Just to show you how flimsy this is when you start tearing out panels and why we haven't removed this, if I just put my thumb and finger on and wiggle, can you see that moving? Now you can imagine if I'd taken this out as well, it would have all the rigidity of a wet paper bag, and it would probably actually deform and bend under its own weight. So you have to be really careful when you start tearing structure out of a car, because yeah, if you are going to take a floor and replace a floor out of an entire Dyane and you're going to take it off the chassis, before you unbolt the chassis, before you unbolt the boot floor, well, remove the boot floor and all of that, I suggest welding braces in the entire car so it doesn't twist, because otherwise you might not get it back on square. But yeah, that just shows you how flimsy it is when you start taking out the structure and rigidity of the car. And as you can see, the house martins have decided that they want to make a nest above Pandora, so I've put a sheet on it as well, because they make a mess. I don't mind though. Kind of cool, because as you can see, they really just are not bothered by us at all. They're completely used to us by now, and they just fly around like messy little pets that drop by once a year, and here you go. That drop by and say hello. But they're completely not fussed. They will actually drop by and like fly right past your head and play. It's kind of cool while you're working, but it's lovely to have them. They're just awesome. Welcome up to the mezzanine. I don't think we've ever been up here in a car video. Now I've laid out all of the Dyane parts just to show you kind of everything that's happening. We have our new fuel tank, By the way, if you buy one of these plastic fuel tanks, make sure you get the new gator, because the filler neck is actually a different size. You need an adapter. So I didn't know that. That's something that I've had to order for this to make that work. We have our new fuel line. Your fuel line needs replacing if it kinks. If you bend it and it kinks, then replace it. And we've got new stainless Jubilee clips, obviously, new rear view mirror, new clips for the fuel lines and brake lines. We've got new window runners. We of course have our shock absorbers, which we've installed in a previous video and then taken off, as I said we would do in that video, so that they can all be painted behind and all of that. And you'll notice that we've painted the underside of the boot floor, and we've painted the insides of the wings as well. And we have our new inner wing for the other side, the new, what would it be, driver's side, rear inner wing. So that's arrived. So yeah, all we have to do now, and we've repainted the fuel filler neck and welded it up and fixed it and all of that as well. So that no longer has holes in it. And the end of it needs painting blue now, but we're not going to be painting stuff blue until we get stuff located in the car. And that's the thing, Citroen didn't paint the back of the panels the body colour, and so we were hesitant on whether to do that or not, and whether to use stone chip. I hate stone chip, my dad hates stone chip, so that wasn't really an option. And this tool paint looks like a really good option. It's really tough. It's designed to be abrasion resistant and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we've also got some new front tyres, courtesy of our local garage actually. The guy waved us down the other day. Went nipped to the shop and he waved us down. He's like, I found some 2CV tyres in my storeroom, do you want them? So we've got some new front tyres, and yeah. But this just shows you the scale of the job. And it's a lot of money quietly away, is all of this. Like these jobs, the price really quickly adds up. These fuel line and brake line clips, these are €2 each. So that's, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, that adds up. We've got €150 in paint. We have a new boot floor, which is hundreds of euros. We have a new inner wing. We have these new inner wing plates. These inner wing plates, I suppose you could make one at home, but these are made to fit this new boot floor, and they fit on the ends like that. Right? These are €18 each. These are the window sliders. How much are they? 40 euros for window sliders, so like 20 euros each. But you can't buy them as a single. In singles, you have to buy them as a pair. New rear view mirror. How much were the inner wing bolts, Dad?
150 each.
So these little Citroen spec inner wing bolts that are the correct hardware, €1.50 each. And you can very quickly see how all of this starts to add up. And that just shows why people didn't look after these cars back in the day. If this car was worth €1,000, are you going to spend over what you paid for it on the car just to make it mint? Some people would, some people would just budget, but that's why we are taking the time now and making it all right. But I also mentioned in the Everything Wrong With video that we were going to take the roof off, and my mum was going to put a roof liner in it. Now, I've heard very good things about a company in England called Matt Soft Tops. There's a bunch of you viewers who have those roofs, and Paul, one of the best commenters on this channel, who's followed this channel forever, he messaged me a lot of pictures of his roof. And I've also heard from people like Bob, who I interviewed on this channel in the past, how good Matt's soft tops are. And I've always wanted one for my car. I'm not buying one for my car, but my parents are buying one for their car, so I get to test it out on their car first. So I've messaged Matt, and he's actually going to make us up a soft top as well as a sun cover. So we've ordered a new roof rather than repairing the original roof. Like I say, all the Jubilee clips, all the hardware, all the bolts, all adds up. And you end up spending, over €1,000 just on stuff. and that's before you've done any work. So if you were then to pay an expert or a specialist to do that work, it's going to be expensive. And this is something that I say to people a lot. When people send me cars, it happens about twice a week. Someone will send me a 2CV, a Dyane or an Ami in like a for sale advert, and they go, what do you think of this, Oliver? And I always say the same thing, I cannot evaluate a car based on for sale adverts. You just can't do it. Like, you saw the everything wrong with the Dyane advert video, and everyone said, oh, it's such a mint car, it looks really, really good, but you couldn't see the rust, could you? And then when we cut out the boot floor, you saw just how rusty a clean looking car can be. And that's the thing. You know, and I get people send me adverts for really rusty 2CVs and really rusty Dyanes, and they're like, oh, I can do the rust repair. Rust repair's cheap, it's not a problem, da da da. And it all adds up. It really, really does. And if you're considering buying a Dyane, or you're considering buying a 2CV or an Ami, make sure you buy the best one that you can afford, the cleanest one that you can afford. Spending that money then will save you an absolute fortune in the long run. And if you are going to buy a rusty project, it has to be a vanity project that you are willing to have in your workshop for a few months, and you've got the space and time and money to take the time to do it right. Because you can't buy a rusty 2CV or a rusty Dyane and have it as your daily, because it's just, you can't repair it well enough, quickly enough to keep using it as your daily. And that's why we've taken the Dyane off the road. My parents have been using my car, but I just wanted to bring home like how many tiny little bits and bats are needed to do a car like this. The inner wing, just over €100, the boot floor, just over €100, and the rear of the car is actually much cheaper to do than the front. If you wanted new front wings, you're talking €300 each to get steel front wings. They do fiberglass ones and plastic ones that don't look quite as good, and obviously they're not original, but you can imagine, you know, €600 and you're just into 2 unpainted front wings. You see how quickly a job like this can go from costing hundreds to costing thousands. And if you were to pay a garage, if you were to pay an expert, a specialist to do a job like this, I'd expect to pay thousands. And like I say, it's a really easy thing. You know, you watch a lot of buyer's guides and stuff like that, and people go, oh, 2CVs, Dyanes is so easy, so simple, so cheap. And I think, in fact, Sam Smith, I really like Sam, he's a really nice guy. Sam Smith on the Haggerty channel is one of my favourite automotive writers, but he referred to 2CV parts as costing pennies, literally, I think, in a recent video, and it's simply not the case. It's cheaper than a lot of cars, but it's not cheap. You know what I mean? So if you're going to buy a project, just make sure you buy wisely, and buy at haste and repent at leisure. Don't rush into it. When we bought my parents' Dyane, we knew these things were wrong with my parents' Dyane, but it was local. We didn't have cars and we couldn't be picky. But having said that, it has been utterly fantastic. It has been reliable. It has towed a trailer. It has done all of the things that they wanted it to do. But now it's time to spend the money. And when it comes time to spend the money, it's time to buy the best quality stuff that you can buy. And that way it will stay nice. The best way to keep something nice is not to let it get in a mess in the first place, but when you do have to replace something, buy the highest quality stuff. And a lot of 2CV specialist parts places sell multiple qualities. I know CP Reader Franzone, they do like, for instance, the fuel line. They'll do 2 or 3 different qualities of fuel line, and they'll say, you know, we recommend, I know ECAS in the UK do as well, they go, right, we don't recommend you actually buy this thing, we recommend you buy this much expensive thing, but people do buy this thing, so we'll sell it to you, but we don't recommend that you actually buy it from us. And that kind of honesty is really worth paying for it, and specialists like that who are very, very honest about the quality of stuff, and who are very informative and don't want people to feel shortchanged and don't want people to buy terrible quality stuff, they're the kind of people who you want to buy parts from, because like I said, they're really worth supporting. A great example of the quality index is Michelin tyres. Now, I love the Michelin X tyres for the 2CV. They are utterly brilliant. And these are the ZXs. These are the uprated version, the sporty version that's slightly wider, that were on many Dyanes. But I have multiple friends who say to me, it's okay, Oliver, you only have one 2CV. We have, you know, my wife has a 2CV, I have a 2CV, and we're driving our cars every single day. And a set for Michelin X's is about €350, depending on where you buy them. And so if you have to retire two 2CVs at once, you know, you're talking €700, that's a big bill. And it is. But they tend to go through about 4 sets of their cheaper knockoff tyres to my 1 set of Michelin X's. I've only ever had to, in 3 years, I've had to, if daily use, I've had to replace 1 Michelin X tyre because of damage. I drove through a bunch of fallen branches and got a piece of wood wedged in my tyre. But that's it. And I'm really, really happy with them. But it is a big bill, you know, 300. If you're spending all your money on all of this to then go and buy the really expensive tyres, again, is a huge add-on. Especially these, because these are super expensive. These wider ones. It's a big bill, and if you can afford to pay it, it's worth paying, because in the long run, it'll save you money. And the cheaper tyres are a false economy, in my opinion, and the safety thing as well. There may be cheaper tyres out there that perform as well as a Michelin X, but in my opinion, for fuel economy and safety and handling, Michelin X's are better. I think that cheap tyres are a false economy, and if you can afford to go for the better thing, go for the better thing, you know. But I do understand people who say, you know, we're running a bunch of cars at once and we just can't afford it. And if you can't afford it, just go for the best thing that you can go for. Okay, so we've got some drills with some 4mm drill bits in, and that's because we need to start drilling the spot welds. Citroen used 4mm spot welds, so that's what we're using. And we've got 16 in this back edge alone, so this is going to take a while. You can actually buy a spot weld kind of hole punch tool, but in true the theoliverpickard style, we don't have one. So yeah, drill bits. Drill bits are cheap. Right, let's get stuck in. The reason why we've drilled holes is because we aren't doing spot welds, we're doing plug welds. So we're going to now, when we put the panel in, go in with the MIG and fill each of the holes with weld, and that will weld the panel to the car. And plug welds are actually superior to spot welds, so the car will actually be more rigid than it was, which is quite funny. So remember this piece that my dad made for the other wing that we didn't end up using, that has an exhaust hanger off? Luckily, like, we've got this little bit of rust damage here and this little bit of rust damage here, and this piece is what's going to fix that, because it's, even though it's handed for the other side, once we take this exhaust hanger off, we can just tweak it, and that'll be perfect for in there like that. Sorted. So before we put our boot forward, we have to remember to put all our hardware in, like these little clips that go in these back corners, and the neoprene strip that runs along that stops the boot floor vibrating on the chassis. So pop all that in. These things are really easy to forget, and so it's a really good idea to get your phone and take a lot of photos before you take it all apart and start removing stuff. If you take photos along the journey, you don't miss stuff. Before you go to put stuff back in, you take a look at the photos, you take a look at what you've done when you were taking it all out, you go, oh yeah, there was a gasket here, or oh yeah, there was a bit of neoprene strip here that I need to put back in. Because if you get flu in between, you know, dismantling and replacing, you can actually remember what you've done. So put the strip in now, and we're going to now clean this up and weld it in from the back side forwards, and then it can be drilled, and then when we put the boot floor in, it'll all be welded together and made nice. G-Wagon levels of panel rigidity. Okay, so Dad's actually doing most of this because I'm still a bit rough, I'll be honest with you. But he wants his car back, so we're filming it anyway. But he's doing most of the work. Now, he wanted me to remind you all to disconnect your battery before doing any sort of welding on your car, because it can knack your alternator up, it can knack your battery up. If you've got an electronically controlled car, one of them newfangled modern things, then it can damage your ABS systems, your ECU, it can cause all sorts of problems. So always disconnect your battery. So as you can see, the plug welds from the other side look just like spot welds. Now we will clean all this up and we will put seam sealer on it and all of that, but we're not going to do it now because it's really hard to work on a panel that's so thin without bending it or deforming it or damaging it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the boot in and then we're going to give it some rigidity, and that'll make everything easier to work on. So this will stay like this just for now until we've got some rigidity in it, and then that makes life so much easier because we can then clean it up and sort it out and add some more tacks and welds if we want to, and see what we're going to do from there. I'm going to clear the strut.
You can even say about these are okay, they're cheap from this local supermarket,
Yeah.
But obviously they're not good when you weld it.
Obviously, because they're melty. Yeah, like kids. Plastic clamps, they're good, but they're melty. I'm going to use that, you know that, don't you? Plastic clamps, good, but melty. There's not much to clamp to here, unfortunately. You know, I was saying you should take photos of everything and not forget to put something in. May have slightly forgotten to put these in. These are basically feet that fit to the rear valance, which is this panel, and the boot floor, and then bolt to the chassis, and they hold the body to the chassis at the back of the car. And may have slightly forgotten them. It's okay, they can be slid in, but finding the holes is a little bit tricky. Obviously, because we've painted the back of the panel, we're actually going to have to remove the paint from around where we're going to be welding each a little bit, but we'll use a Dremel bit for that. And the reason why we've done that is usually where the two faces of two pieces of metal meet on a car like this, there is no paint at all. So this is just extra rust preventative. But we'll have to clean out where each individual plug weld will be, and then we can weld it in. Two large men, MIG welding, both wearing shorts in the back of a Dyane. It's so much worse than cooking bacon with no t-shirt on. It's like, we of course could put jeans on, but then I wouldn't look this sexy. You're welcome. So, we've run a bunch of spot welds all the way along, and now we have to let it cool down, because if we just keep welding on it and welding on it and welding on it, it'll all go wibbly wobbly and bend and distort with the heat, and we don't want that because that will create problems further down the line. So brew time and then some more welding. there we have it. A new boot floor, all welded in and everything. Obviously we haven't welded it along this edge because that's going in the bin and it's going to be replaced by a shiny new one. But it's welded along the back, it's welded along the side, and it's welded along here. And we've welded it inside as well, you'll have noticed. We've put tacks all the way along inside. The reason we've done that is the flange thickness on the new panel isn't quite as big as the flange thickness on the old panel, and we just want to give it a little bit of extra rigidity. And you won't see those tacks because that'll all be ground back and then covered over with seam sealer, and it'll look all pretty, but we're not doing any bodywork yet until we've got everything replaced. So we've got, like I said, this to do next, and we've got this box, that box down there that you can see that's black to replace, and of course the one that was in a hole on this side as well. And that'll be in the next video because I've been working for long enough today, and I'm really happy though. You can tell the back of the car is so much more rigid now we've got the boot floor in, and that means it's rigid enough that we can actually start taking other panels out without it all sagging like a dog having a poo. So yep, really happy. Brand new boot floor. It's a shame it took me so long because I got flu, but there we go. That's such is life, and it just shows it's better to do it slowly, taking your time and get it done, and not having a rusty boot floor than not doing it because you don't have the tools. Sometimes all you need is a little bit of ingenuity. So thank you all for watching. Please be awesome to each other. If you want to watch any more videos, there's a Pandora playlist just there. That car, the mid-engine one with the Honda engine in it. There's Jolene there. There's a Dyane playlist there, and there's a subscribe button that looks like my face there. Click on my face to subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Please be awesome to each other, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.